Give me your hand, my love, and come to my castle. The constant interplay between the hunt and the hunted.
Ach, soll ich es wohl wagen? Mein Herz, o sag es mir.
In the beginning there was the Word. For a while, only the Word.
Wie ein Apfelbaum unter den wilden Bäumen, so ist mein Freund unter den Söhnen. Ich sitze unter dem Schatten, des ich begehre, und seine Frucht ist meiner Kehle süß.
This is what can be read in the Bible in the second chapter of Solomon's Song.
Da ist ja meine Buhle wert.
Ja!
Nach der mein Herz schon hart begehrt. Und heute spiel, Leut, mit deiner ganze Schar.
Nun komm, mich abzuholen gar.
Du schlägst die Lichter mit eigenem Schein. Deine Rede ist süßer als Schalmeien. Ist alles für mich zu dieser Stund wie Balsam. Balsam für die offene Wund.
It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory.
Nicht verseh. Steh nicht auf. Grüne Buben an. Du bist mein Buhl und lieber Mann.
Ich fühle mich wahrhaftig herzensjung und selber bubenhaft gelungen. Und wenn ich als kein Bub mehr bin, so zärtlicher ist drum mein Sinn.
If the simple word does not suffice, one begins to search for magic formulae, mixtures and elixirs. In short, a pharmaceutical wonder weapon. What makes one actually lust for lust?
Was soll so ein Aphrodisiakum? Das soll
What's the purpose of an aphrodisiac?
die Libido verstärken.
It should enhance the libido.
Das sexuelle Vergnügen
It should enhance sexual
soll
pleasure.
Liebe entfachen,
It should
das soll
ignite
die
love.
Potenz steigern.
It should boost the virility.
Potenzsteigerung, das kann man irgendwo
Good.
festmachen.
From all the
Das
points that I
kann von all den
mentioned,
Punkten,
a
die ich
boost in
aufgezählt habe,
virility can be
wahrscheinlich am
measured best
besten.
somehow.
Wie kann man eine Luststeigerung messen?
But how can you
Das
measure
ist
an
aus
increase in
wissenschaftlicher
lust?
Sicht Ganz einfach.
From a scientific point of
Und
view,
aus
this is
diesem Grunde,
complicated.
wenn Sie mich fragen, gibt's sowas
When you
überhaupt
ask me
oder
if
ist
this
das
is
alles
all
nur
real
Humbug?
or just pure nonsense, my answer would be diverse. That everything is nonsense would not apply, because otherwise the whole thing would not have been around for so long. But why some substances, either from plants or animals, have this aphrodisiac effect, science still can't tell.
Aphrodisiaka wirksam sind, das weiß die Wissenschaft bis heute nicht.
Thus, science leaves us completely in the dark. In the southwest of the island of Cyprus, near the coast, two rocks protrude from the sea. It is said that Aphrodite, the founding mother of sensuality, arose from the foam of the surf right here. The erotic power woman of the ancient Greek pantheon is said to have an extensive knowledge of relevant herbs. Only after we had taken the bite of truth did we have to leave paradise and consequentially discover a lust for lust. If one wants to perceive it that way, one could consider it our first stroke of luck. The great Isis held in the realm of the Nile, amongst many other issues, patronage over the most important thing in the world. As a result, observance to her and her cult were at a premium. The secret of their rule was the knowledge Isis priests held with regard to all sorts of recipes known to achieve and maintain lust. Under the porous veil of secrecy, the knowledge of the power-giving ingredients spread, and very quickly to all corners of the known world, not only in Egypt, but in many other empires and civilizations of the ancient world. Herbs, syrups, and powders were introduced to the market where they quickly became sought after and expensive treasures. Since lust and power have always enjoyed a close mutual relationship, the search and creation of stimulants soon became a lucrative trade. The alchemists of medieval Europe, driven by business and curiosity, and the forerunners of today's chemists, not only searched for the philosopher's stone, but often also proclaimed to have reliable power resources and some effective love spells in their range. However, there were no side effects in which one of, often life-threatening side effects and warnings were elucidated. Our trail leads us around the globe through time and different cultures. It leads us to the quiet market of Tainan, the old capital of Taiwan. Here, a peddler could receive blessings and security for his or her trade by praying in the small temple. Right next door, still ensconced, one might say, in the scented circle of the gods, a traditional Chinese pharmacy has been running for 300 years, and in exactly the same place. Also known to us since antiquity, mandrake root, or mandragora, was believed to have many abilities, particularly a strong impact on fertility levels. It is mostly found in medicines and teas.
The most important is sport. Once you'd only use Chinese herbs to supplement sporting activities as support. However, if a remedy is necessary, I advise a mixture of tortoiseshell, deer antler, ginseng and wolfberry. This is particularly helpful for men who haven't had an erection in years.
These homemade and, of course, secret strength-inducing remedies are sold worldwide by Zhen Shijil with considerable success.
Yes, this remedy can enforce and extend the erection, so that a woman has more pleasure as well. In combination with the already mentioned ingredients and some Chinese herbs, this is the best aid for securing better qi, the energy flow. Elderly men typically have a weaker qi as a result of their age, meaning they suffer from erection problems more often. If the meridians are not blocked, a good energy flow throughout the body is maintained. Therefore, it is important to have enough qi.
Notwithstanding curiosity, one should be careful when attempting to create mixtures oneself.
Anybody ordering from the web has to be aware that the origin of the products can't really be determined. Also that it's not sure what kind of herbs are in the product, or if there might even be other ingredients that are not declared on the label, which might even be harmful.
China's markets for natural medicines are a visual and olfactoric labyrinth without any hope of escape for the intrepid modern Western pharmacist or herbalist visitor. Both will, however, undoubtedly be fascinated in every sense. In the middle of the bustling capital of Taiwan is a large Buddhist temple, open every day. Entering, it only takes a few moments to forget the thunderous rush of the world outside. Embraced by the harmony of the prayers and chants and a little dazed by the scent of the fragrant offerings, it is easy to find one's own center here, afterwards. Even Western therapists admit this. Lost powers and desires seem to return more easily. How the forces of competition and virility manifest themselves in architecture is obvious in the skyrocketing buildings of many a metropole. In Taipei, for example, where one of the highest buildings in the world stands, the symbiosis between power and eros is particularly obvious. Walking through the restaurant quarter of Taipei is like entering the Bermuda Triangle of the senses. Star chef Yin Cheng prepares an appetizer for us. It is equally as expensive as it is exquisite and supposedly enhances the appetite-enhancing. Smoked and flambéed mullet roe served between 2 slices of nashi. Asiatic gourmets swear by the immediate results.
Food culture in Taiwan has changed considerably in the last few years. Once again, we have started to be more careful about the quality of ingredients used and what is good for our body. We can note an increased use of organic products created by environmentally friendly farming methods. This has meant a return to valuing healthy dietary traditions. We have recognized that people who follow these basic food consumption principles lead a more healthy and balanced life. It is not only important to taste good, it has to be good for us too.
The night market of Taipei is down to earth and focuses on mass consumption. It is the most popular and night for night overcrowded market in Taipei. There is only one possibility: keep your eyes and nose wide open and plunge. One can quite easily lose all one's good intentions in this sumptuous Bermuda Triangle, where shopping and eating are a must for any visitor and considered highly contagious. At the food stalls where the popular oyster omelettes are prepared, the typical European should resist, even if they are popular with the locals, whatever age, due to their alleged rapidly stimulating effect. On the other side of the world in Mexico, they approach the issue head-on, without the diversion of a sumptuous snack. To begin with, some harmless, if perhaps not exactly harmonious, ingredients. Then the highlight: a few splashes of a commercial vitamin preparation, and the potente activador sexual is ready.
Salud.
I believe in it. It is also healthier than taking medicine. Exactly, it is a better Viagra. In the old days, there were machos, but not anymore. They alone used to decide what was to be done at home, in the family. That has all gone now. It used to be different. You had the big house for the wife and family, then you had the small one for the mistress. Yep, I have only one now, a small one. Nowadays, both husband and wife make the decisions at home. You simply have to agree on things.
Chilies in abundance, green, fresh, dried, and with varying levels of spiciness. Right next to pepper and all other kinds of reputable power donors, the curious European visitors will find this place worth a visit. But what is offered at the so-called witches' market of Mexico City, from the obscure to the occult, will still amaze. Flying dogs, bats, rattlesnakes, armadillos. Not sold quite so openly are dead hummingbirds. A macho wears one under his shirt as protection against lack of fertility and to achieve more stamina.
Here at the Sonora market, we sell many different types of aphrodisiac powders. Some have very specific aromas. Rose, jasmine, sandalwood. These are aphrodisiac perfumes. One uses the powders by distributing small pinches of it over the body. Only then when the chances of a sexual act occurring seem hopeful. Naturally, this has to be done secretly without your partner knowing. For example, very subtly one disappears to the toilet just at the poignant moment and quickly rubs some powder on one's body. Next, engage in some chit-chat and whatever happens will happen. These powders are used for motivational purposes to bring your chosen partner onto the same wavelength as you, to make sure that he or she is not only on the same wavelength, but also has the same motives and indicates the same level of interest. Naturally, we only use the powders on ourselves and not on our partners.
Incantations, candles, ointments are all available, whatever your needs. Even the armadillos are waiting to be crushed or ground into powders in order to exercise their secret powers. Let us return to terra firma and the safe ground of expert opinion. What everyone who is anyone has always known and has always wanted is the things that will make you hot, in every sense of the word. And thus we meet Carmen Tatita Hernandez, one of the most impressive representatives of Mexican cuisine. She is creating a salsa verde, the fiery classic amongst food.
Chili has a stimulating effect. The Indios in Mexico used to carry staple foods with them all the time: hot chili, fresh tortillas, and beans. This is basically a very healthy diet, except for the lack of protein. Pure carbs gave them the power that they needed, and the chili as an aphrodisiac. Chili triggers the taste buds. This is what makes the difference, and you start to want more. Even today, there are people that bite into a fresh chili. You're as hot as a fresh green chili. There are lots of phrases like this in Mexico, all of them about the same topic. We kid around about that. It's the same with death. But apart from that, chili is, without doubt, the most important ingredient in Mexican food.
The aphrodisiac portents of the cocoa bean are recognized regularly. Carmen Hernandez shows us how a cup of hot cocoa might have been prepared half a century ago. No sugar, but water and corn flour, and a little dripping. In the regal homes of Mayan and Aztec aristocracy, the drink was considered particularly lust-inducing, and therefore holy and precious.
El cacao tenía el nombre.
This drink was called Atla Quetzali, or the precious water. The exact formula is hard to reconstruct, because you can't find much about it in archaeological findings. We found cups of the Mayas, and their inscriptions clearly state that they were used to drink chocolate. Analyses that followed could confirm that. Chocolate, what used to be a sacred drink, was made with water. It was spiced with chili or with vanilla. It was said that Montezuma drank a dark and foamy liquor, which should help to be successful with the ladies.
Chocolate, a known, legal, non-prescription, happiness-inducing drug. when consumed in moderation, can give the libido quite a helping hand.
Natürlich ist es so, dass man schauen muss, wie man Schokolade isst.
Of course, you have to know how to eat the chocolate. Like a good glass of wine, you don't just gulp it down. Instead, you cut the chocolate into tiny pieces. You don't lay them at the back of your mouth to bring them closer to the teeth so you can bite or suck on them easily. No, you lay a piece on your tongue and wait. There is a famous expression known as cuddling in the mouth. Chocolate is cuddling in the mouth. And it has value. Oh yes, if one really lets the process unfold and really lets the chocolate melt. Chocolate has 400 flavors in itself. Pure, dark chocolate. You will not taste all 400 perhaps, but there is already the feeling of it having kissed one in the mouth. Allow it, and the chocolate tastes of honey, papaya, like tobacco. If you taste only a few of these things in a slice of pure, bitter, dark chocolate, then you will see and feel what is really there.
Dann werden Sie sehen und spüren, was da drinnen ist. Schokolade, wie sie die Industrie herstellt.
Chocolate, when mass-produced by industry, is reduced to food and is not a luxury item. But as we first told you, the other ingredients of chocolate, such as sugarcane, were rare products. Cinnamon was a spice that had to be brought from far away, so one should recognize chocolate as a lust inducer and luxurious.
Als Genussmittel sehen.
Champagner! König aller Weine! Ein Hoch aus den Sprudeln der Majestät! Und
im Feuerstund der Leben, tralalalala, sprüht ein himmlisch Leben, tralalalala. Die Könige, die Kaiser, sie lieben Lorbeerweiser, doch lieben sie daneben, die süßen Saft der Riemen, so süß an. Und freundlich im Vereine, den König aller Weine, den König aller Weine. Die Majestät wird anerkannt, bringt sich dann, Jubel wird zum Paragraph, der erste sie genannt.
Johann Strauss wrote a brilliant, sparkling and acoustic anthem to champagne, the king of wines, seen as a majestic aphrodisiac. Its exuberant, encouraging powers are undisputed around the world. Sensuality arises not only from the high spirits of the senses, but from thoughtfulness. A scene in which reflects this annually is the quiet, elegant, and decadent Carnival of Venice. Casanova, the prototype of the ever-seeking seducer, seems omnipresent. Modest mirth is also somewhat morbid and can always tilt easily into sadness. Love lust and the death through love seem to seek each other out. Casanova, not just a deceiver but a con artist, is often the key word to understanding the alchemy of lust. Castle Oberstockstahl am Wagram in Lower Austria is a place where time has stood still for 300 years. Alchemists were not just pretenders who stole the money out of the pockets of greedy rulers. In most cases, they were honest seekers, curious and clever ancestors of modern chemists and biologists. The fact that they came up with the idea to search for sexual enhancers after the Philosopher's Stone was a result of the natural and humane greed of their clients. Women of the Middle Ages who cavorted in this occult, esoteric and pseudo-scientific universe were, if they did not possess highly spiritual authority, such as Hildegard of Bingen, defamed as witches.
First of all, we worship the tutelary goddess of our circle, Diana, the goddess of the moon, the protectress of women. We call out to the powers of all four directions. We call out to our goddess to pray for power, protection, and love. All of us will pray for their desires, in love, for example, or the desire for children. For those, we implemented a ritual for fruitfulness, because this night is filled with energy and fruitfulness.
For centuries, help and advice was asked of these women when lust or fertility seemed weak. Otherwise, or perhaps precisely because of this, they are stigmatized and persecuted at the same time.
In ancient times, healing and herbology was a female domain. At some point, universities taught medicine and doctors appeared. Only men, of course. This caused competition. Women had the power of healing and were a threat to the doctors. But it was not so easy for the ruling classes and the church to take away the mostly female healers from the communities.
In Europe, for centuries, everything that had been used pharmaceutically was found in the monastery gardens. Until now, the herbal knowledge of the holy orders, as natural medicine or otherwise, has prevailed. Since a herb can be used for or against anything, the aphrodisiac plants came into circulation too. The fact that some of it was not cheap is still to be seen in the so-called 1,000 Gulden herb.
Zum Beispiel Liebstöckel, ganz normales Magikraut.
Lovage, for example, or wild chives, are all plants that contain lots of essential oils.
Allermannsharnisch ist ein anderer Name dafür. Das sind auch schon klingende Namen. Das sind sehr oft Apiaceae, die sind Pflanzen, die ätherisches Öl enthalten. Selleriewurzel sagt man auch nach.
Celery, it is told, has an aphrodisiac effect. It is assumed that the essential oils enhance the blood flow in the region of the genitals, which would cause intensified erection.
Und möglicherweise zu einer verstärkten Erektion führen kann.
The asparagus was already appreciated by the Romans, perhaps because it seems to so powerfully stand upright in defiance as it springs from the dark earth. In the sphere of folk medicine, superstition and mumbo-jumbo, it does not take much imagination to sell the properties of a plant such as the asparagus to the people, particularly in this case, a man. Its properties, dare one say, stand up for themselves. Apart from its good taste and proven healthy ingredients, the asparagus enjoyed the exquisite reputation of its intended role as heralder of a spring aphrodisiac. With its many different methods of being cooked and almost solemn way it is eaten, it is easy to visualize ancient fertility rituals. India's commercial capital, Mumbai, is an exuberant boom town, whose outside temperature is always close to the boiling limit. The historic Crawford Market is in the centre of town. The planning of this market was completed by the father of the British Nobel Prize-winning laureate Rudyard Kipling, who was born here. For 140 years, the place has been a melting pot for all kinds of sensory impressions. Once the ears have again adapted to a nice normal level of noise, one can take pleasure in the atmospheric surroundings once again and allow oneself to be transported into a bygone era. Thus we arrive at the Ganges, in the holy city of Varanasi, by Shiva, the spiritual center of Hinduism. Here, love, life, death, and completion come together. Why is explained by Professor Tiwari of the Benares Hindu University.
Once Shiva visited this place.
Shiva herself once came here because of the Holy Mother Ganga and immediately formed an alliance with her.
Associated with Shiva and Ganga.
The Ganges is the absolute representation of the goddess Ganga, and as we know is one of the holiest rivers, not just in India, but of the whole world. Once the alliance was formed with Ganga, Shiva decided to make the city her home.
His permanent abode. And thereafter,
since then, Kashi, Varanasi, is considered particularly holy and is recognized as a city that was never deserted by Shiva. This means that whoever dies here will become a part of the spiritual redemption ethos.
Final salvation to everybody who dies here.
The permanent, almost 300-year presence of Shiva in this small temple carries important weight. A figure depicting the divine union of double-sex Shiva and Ganga has been carved into the wall. A shaman is there with a book and preparing a remedy. Mark Twain wrote about the city called Kashi, Benares, or Varanasi. It is older than history and tradition, and also older than all the legends. Yes, it is even twice older than all of this. Hindu believers are convinced that if they die here, and they are incinerated in the combustion ghats, they will find salvation from the painful cycle of reincarnation. Involuntarily, one is drawn to the great Mother Ganga, to this port of life, death and eternity, and thus the regular evening prayers at the ghats lose their strangeness. The Kathwala temple, once built by the king of Nepal, is closely related to the Kama Sutra, the great book of ancient India about the art of life and love.
It is a book, and that shows how...
Yes, the Kama Sutra is a very old book that proves how audacious and open-minded Indian thought processes once used to be in everyday life and in science. The Kama Sutra is a book that reveals and explains the very diverse possibilities within sexual activity.
Related to sex. And
today we look at the sexual depictions and carvings on temples and find them very brazen. In reality, in the days without cameras, these depictions were like a public announcement.
Means those were made public. Not on a closed room, not in camera. But temple means, in ancient times, the temple...
Then, as now, temples were a place where everyone came together. Father, son, grandfather, wife. Everyone came here, and not just here, but to many other ancient monuments I have seen, to look at the effigies.
Such erotic figures wherein the male and female are shown...
They are quite practical descriptions, like a cooking recipe. Such erotic portrayals, where women and man are shown in some form of ecstatic sexual act together, are most often found on shrines and temples dedicated to Shiva.
The approximately 1700-year-old Kama Sutra, written in Sanskrit, teaches the art of love as an integral and indispensable part of life. Therefore, important information was carved on the outer walls for general consumption. Cult and everyday life are two different sides of the same coin. The Indian film industry, and in particular the Bollywood Dream Factory in Mumbai, turns the mythological setting with simple, trivial but popular romantic tearjerkers into a billion-dollar business. The stimulant Moloch Bollywood survives, amongst other things, from the many small suppliers who helped to promote the Indian variant on lust and passion in the film and television industry. You can watch their work almost around the clock on a dozen stations. Rita's design studio, with an attached tailors, designs and produces costumes for the stars and countless starlets. They are mostly packed in modern fables that enclose everyday problems in the soft cotton of illusion. Color, design, and cut of the costumes remind viewers of the alleged glories of ancient times, even if the heroes and villains, the brides and brothers, possess all the attributes of modern life. On the beach of Mumbai, in the rolling dunes that run down to the Arabian Sea, the apparent contradictions of the old teachings and prude, Bollywood cinema seems without importance. A young music troupe that lives in an almost monastic community on the outskirts of Taipei shows us how drums can provide us with a quite varied gender dialogue.
Yes, that is true. Our drum band Shigu Chi's style is quite different to traditional music, which is more one-sided. With our band, there is a form of dialogue. We use small, middle and large-sized drums. They harmony beautifully when played together. It sounds like a Western symphony. Our drum music can be very gentle, or it can bring the body to breaking point, playing with the rhythms of our souls. Our goal is to create something spiritually moving with the drums. Well, just simply to make music.
Half of Taiwan is mountainous. A particularly strong tea grows here. It is harvested in small plantations, where it is carefully picked by hand, literally leaf for leaf. It is appreciated for its lovely aroma and for its ability to regulate blood pressure and rejuvenating properties. Staying with the family of plantation workers we met outside of our search for aphrodisiacs, we learned of an unusual and wholesome method for cooking rice. Lightly pre-cooked, the rice is poured into hollow bamboo tubes. The nearly 20 centimeters long rods are inserted for a quarter of an hour into fire. This creates a delicious rice cake. So much laborious manual work explains the rather exclusive price of the mountain teas. When the libido declines as life wanes, sensuality becomes contemplation. China's emperors, who lived cut off from all of the people living in their palace city, contributed to the luxury of expensive expeditions, especially the search for a miracle mushroom on the barren slopes of the Himalayas. The fungus-like plant that emerged like a caterpillar is called Yatsa Ganbu by the Tibetan people today, and the Chinese call it Dongchon Sha Chao. It supposedly works all kinds of wonders, and today costs the equivalent of 3,000 to 4,000 euros per kilo. Expensive, wrong, deadly when you imagine lust for lust can be heightened by hard drugs, then as now. Shrouded in legend, poisoned with jealousy and the blood of fratricide, Topkapi Sere, the erotic, high-security wing of the Ottoman rulers. There were no trifles here. Everything happened as planned, and everything was hurried along using trickery. The desire of the ruler, as well as the death of the concubines or their sons. Everything in this apparent luxury was ruled by deceit and jealousy. Such olfactory subtleties as whether sexual partners harmonized in the sphere of smell could hardly be evaluated in a place ruled by deceit. Today we know that affection and rejection are directly affected by the scents that surround us.
Humans are programmed to perceive, by smell, whether the person opposite them has a contrary immune system. Children that are conceived should indeed be superior, so the immune systems have to complement each other, so that children are resilient. We can perceive this scent clearly. The problem occurs if a woman takes the pill, as the hormonal balance and harmony, or her own smell and her sense of smell, can be changed.
We have heard of supposedly effective recipes were present at the creation of activating elixirs and potions to learn how to create the seduction tonics of old rulers. We heard acoustic stimuli and drank tonics and teas. Towards the end of our journey, we drove into the seemingly infinite universe of fragrance. While strolling through the old streets of Grasse, you can feel the essence of fascination that once moved Jean-Baptiste Grenouille in the world capital of perfumes.
Perfume is a very nice book, very well written. Not all perfumers are killers, I must say this once, but it really does work. We once extracted the scent of a young woman, still alive, and that worked brilliantly. We did it with a search dog who was sent to find, and really found, the woman in the city. It works, but not to the extent that one would need to eat the person found.
Regarding the effect of all juices, drugs, and plants, Paracelsus, the famous medieval scientist and holistic doctor, was quoted as saying, "The dose is what matters." Whoever wants to hold on to what they have found, however they found it, should do so. Engrave the initials of their love on a castle wall, hang it on a bridge, or sink it with a key into a river. As the physicist and Nobel Prize winner Niels Bohr said, "I don't believe in it, but I am assured it exists regardless."